According to the Bible, does someone who divorces and remarries commit adultery? I grew up in a religious home, which means that from a young age, I heard concepts and statements about what was right or wrong as if they were spoken by God Himself. Most of the time, we do not question these principles because, after all, who are we to question God? However, as we grow, we see that reality often contradicts the idealism of religious leaders. It's very common to hear debates about the consumption of alcoholic beverages, for example. Many pastors swear that drinking alcohol is a grave sin, when in reality the Bible does not speak against drinking alcohol, but rather condemns drunkenness. The same principle applies to marriage and divorce. Many religious leaders condemn second marriages, often signaling virtue and holiness, by condemning brothers and sisters who, due to life circumstances, ended up divorced. In the words of many religious leaders, a person who is divorced is condemned to live alone until their former partner dies. As I've said on this channel many times, someone else's problem only seems small to you if you are too far away from that person. If we genuinely get close to people and learn to walk in their shoes for a moment, we will surely see how significant their problems are. This empathy is what I see lacking in many major religious leaders. I wonder if Jesus would not accuse them as He did in His time against the Pharisees. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you tithe mint, dill, and cumin, and have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faith. Matthew 23, verse 23. In this context, Jesus pointed out that the Pharisees obeyed God's law exactly as it was written, but they neglected 1. Justice. In Hebrew, this is tzedakah, the same word for charity. In other words, the Pharisees gave tithes of everything, but neglected social justice toward the poor, as emphasized by James 1:27. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to care for orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself unstained by the world. 2. Mercy. Jesus said the fees denied mercy or forgiveness to sinners. We often see in the scriptures how the religious elite of Jesus' time wanted to condemn people regardless of true repentance and conversion. Remember that grace and forgiveness were not new concepts introduced by Jesus. Even in Micah chapter 6, God already spoke about not requiring lamb sacrifices, but instead caring about legitimate repentance and conversion. 3. Faith. The Pharisees despised people's faith. This is easy to understand when you see how the Pharisees imposed burdensome customs and heavy loads on people while disregarding the faith in their hearts. Jesus repeatedly condemned them for using Jewish customs and laws as an excuse to violate divine commandments. Friends, are pastors and priests today using church traditions to go against God's laws? When they force us to follow non-biblical customs as if they were biblical, aren't they neglecting God's laws and placing burdens too heavy on people who have gone through difficult times? Let's put ourselves in the shoes of people dealing with situations of adultery. I've known people who were repeatedly betrayed by their spouses and who, having good hearts or under the church's imposition, had to forgive their partners. In these cases, wouldn't we be validating and encouraging adultery among us? Would we sin more because we are under grace and not the law? Matthew 19, verse 3-9. And the Pharisees came to him, testing him, and saying to him, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any reason?" He answered and said to them, "Have you not read that he who made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, 'For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh.' So then they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let not man separate." They said to him, "Why then did Moses command to give a certificate of divorce and to put her away?" He said to them, "Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, permitted you to divorce your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. And I say to you, whoever divorces his wife, except for sexual immorality, and marries another, commits adultery, and whoever marries her who is divorced commits adultery." Notice that Jesus is clear in this passage. In the context of those days, the Jews only had the Torah of Moses as their guide, and they made legislations to judge people's causes. Let's examine the context of Jesus' time. Divorce rules in the Torah. 1. Issuance of a formal document, get. The Torah stipulates that a divorce is only valid if the man provides the woman with a formal document of divorce, known as a get. This document must be written and handed directly to the woman for the divorce to be officially recognized. When a man takes a wife and marries her, if she does not find favor in his eyes because he has found something indecent in her, he will write for her a document of divorce, hand it to her, and send her out of his house. Deuteronomy 24:1. 2. Reason for divorce, ervat davar. The Torah mentions that a man may divorce his wife if he finds something indecent, ervat davar in Hebrew, in her. However, the biblical text does not clearly specify what constitutes this something indecent, leading to different interpretations throughout Jewish history. Some traditional interpretations suggest it may refer to a moral failure or a serious transgression, such as infidelity. Other commentators, such as Rabbi Hillel in later times, interpreted the expression more broadly, allowing divorce for much lesser reasons, such as dissatisfaction with the wife's appearance or behavior. The rabbis over the centuries developed and detailed these laws, creating a body of jurisprudence within halakha, Jewish law. For example, while the school of Shammai advocated a strict interpretation of the term ervat davar, allowing divorce only in cases of adultery, the school of Hillel had a broader interpretation, allowing divorce for almost any reason that displeased the husband. Note that Jesus does not forbid divorce. He only criticizes when husbands abandon their wives for lesser reasons, like Hillel's interpretation. If you are watching this video and have been betrayed by your partner, know that in such cases, it is lawful for you to divorce and remarry. In cases of adultery, forgiving the partner is your right, not your duty. Remember that by forgiving someone who betrays you, you risk endorsing that behavior, and the betrayal may continue indefinitely, making you also responsible for curses that could fall upon you and your children in the future. We don't even need to spiritualize this issue. Logically, a man who cheats on his wife could bring diseases into his home, thus harming his children. Remember that forgiveness is something that should be given responsibly, not indiscriminately. When we forgive indiscriminately, we do more harm than good. Whoever forgives the wolf condemns the sheep. We must avoid the appearance of evil and be prudent. I wish you all the best always. May God bless you. And if you have been betrayed, know that the choice is yours and no one else's. Choose wisely, ask God to guide you, and know how to choose. If you have been edified by this message, please follow the channel to help me create more content for you. If you know someone who has been betrayed, please send them this video. Do not let this person feel like their life is over. Thank you. All the best to you always. If you'd like any changes or additional clarifications, feel free to ask.